Hi everyone. Good morning, good evening. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the MBA Spotlight by GMAT Club, where we'll be hosting top business schools across the globe. And I'm Vaibhav. I'm joining you from India, and I'm the GMAT Club moderator. Today we have Yoselin, who's joining us from the NYU Stern School of Business, and is going to walk us through a presentation around the Stern MBA. We'll also have a question and answer session at the end, so please feel free to drop in your questions in the chat window and any questions that Yoslin is not able to answer. We're also having a Zoom session right after this video stream. So you can go to the session and ask the admissions committee all questions that you have. Other than the Zoom session, we also have prizes to be drawn, exciting prizes to be won by you all. The link for the Zoom session as well as the prize drawing link would be posted in the chat window. Please feel free to register for the prize drawing, and you might just win some exciting prizes. Thank you so much, Yoslin, for joining us today. Welcome to the MBA Spotlight. Over to you for the presentation and your introduction.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting us today. My name is Yoselin Bugallo. I'm a Senior Director of MBA Admissions here at the Stern School of Business, and I'm thrilled to share a bit about what I think makes NYU a special place to pursue your MBA. As mentioned, I'm happy to take Q&A as well and learn more about what questions you have about the experience. So without further ado, let's get started. So NYU is a pretty special place, and I believe that if you're considering it for your MBA, there are definitely some unique attributes that I want to share with you today. We'll also talk towards the end of the presentation a bit about the admissions portion of it and how you can really prepare yourself to have a successful admissions outcome. So let's get started. One of the things that I think has been pretty apparent in these last few months is just how important change is in our world. To be able to harness it, navigate it, in some cases survive it, and thinking about how that has impacted our MBA curriculum. Really embraced this purpose of change, dare it, dream it, and drive it. And so it was just happenstance that our worlds were turned upside down by this pandemic and reinforced really why we believe that this MBA experience should teach you how to maneuver through change in a way that will lead your teams, your families, and your communities to success. We designed the student experience to really be about this transformation. And so many of you are looking to an MBA program to transform some aspect of your life, whether that be the job that you're in 5 to 10 years from now, the position that you have, the learning, the expertise, the skill sets that you're looking to build, or the changes that you're making, that you're wishing to make in your community. So we really harness those themes into our MBA curriculum, and I'll walk through that with you as well. One of the ways that we do this, and one of the, I should say, it also is a philosophy that really underpins much of our admissions process, is our IQ plus EQ. What that means for us is when you think about IQ, we think about technical skills, perhaps native intelligence. And these are things that, may be movable, and certainly technical skills are very important depending on the roles that you're jumping into. When we think about EQ, we think about things and skills like self-awareness, empathy, being able to drive through conflict or uncertainty, ambiguity. And for us, this is really a muscle. It's something that needs to be challenged in order to grow. So when we think about the student experience, these are the two pieces that we're trying to put together. Being knowledgeable, both intellectually and technically, but also being able to use that knowledge for change in a way that, again, brings your community, your family, and you to the right place where you hope to be. So let's dig into a little bit more about how we do this. I mentioned dare it, dream it, drive it. This is also a framework for something that we call the Change Studio. The Change Studio is a program that runs concurrently with your academic classes that's designed to help you understand how to drive and how to impact change. These are built somewhat like a modular program where you can select items from each of these different columns that you see here that will really enhance and engage you in terms of your leadership experience. A couple of things just to mention in this space that we do. We have something called the Leadership Accelerator, which is a program that is that is done during our launch, so our orientation program, designed to really help you become aware of your leadership skills and the areas in which you'll need to continue to enhance and build during your Stern experience. So right away, you're getting that level set of understanding how leadership is going to impact your experience here at Stern. Another area that we really focus on is building the community and how you can impact that through leadership roles, whether it's in clubs, organizations, or in some of these smaller groups around your blocks and academic experiences. We also take a look at experiential opportunities that are going to help you drive change, whether it's working in the fascinating and very fast-paced world of startups here in New York City, giving you an opportunity to really be in those rooms when decisions are being made, working with our Office of Student Engagement to identify other opportunities to really get out into the business and the New York City landscape and allow you to understand what that looks like, not just in the classroom, but also in that experience in business as it's unfolding in our New York City landscape. It's one of the things that I'm most excited about for our students when they come to Stern is that they're really able to create this experience that runs concurrently to your academic and your recruiting programs that can help you target the skill sets that you want to build or that you need to build in order to, again, have that EQ muscle be challenged. So let's talk about again, that IQ plus EQ and other ways that we're building it in your Stern experience. This is something that is highlighted quite often in our application. And so I'd like to talk about it in terms of really why we look for it in the application process and how it continues through your Stern experience. I mentioned a few of the items earlier, but one of the things that we really believe in is the power of our student stories and the power of our students' journeys. And so many of the items that I mentioned today will be around that, but also around inclusion, building again that those tools of self-awareness and empathy in our community. Also, the Stern experience is really designed to highlight your IQ plus EQ from the moment that you step foot on campus. I think one of the ways that we do that pretty well is through blocks and study groups. So as you start your experience, you'll be divided into groups of about 60 to 65 students where you will move through your core curriculum with these students. There's a healthy amount of a fun competition, I'll say, that happens. So we have social events that are structured around, competitions between the blocks. There's some athletic events that are structured around that. So you do get a chance to hang out with your blocks outside of your classroom experience. You can ask any Eastern alum, which block were you in, and they'll say, oh, block 6 because it's the best. And it does really build some camaraderie within our students. It's something we're pretty proud of. We also have different elements of inclusive leadership training that are sprinkled throughout the curriculum, starting off really at launch, which again, as I mentioned, is our orientation, to allow you to understand yourself and understand what perspectives, biases, information you may bring to the table, and how you can continue to expand your worldview in hopes of, again, becoming an inclusive leader who can encourage diversity of thought, diversity of experiences, diversity of backgrounds on the team, and harness that diversity and inclusion to create the changes that you want to see in your world. In terms of the MBA programs that we offer here at Stern, we have 3 full-time MBA programs that I'll talk about in a bit as well. We also have a part-time MBA program, which is for professionals that are in and around New York City. There's plenty of information on our website if you are interested in learning more about the part-time program. But for the sake of today's presentation, we're going to focus on the full-time experience. So our 2-year full-time MBA is typically what people think of when they think of the MBA program. So this is starting typically in the fall, pursuing 2 semesters, then engaging in a summer internship, returning for the fall and spring semester, and ultimately graduating in the spring, and hopefully pursuing your short-term goals immediately after that in career or entrepreneurship, etc. Within the 2-year program, we've got over 20 specializations, so it's a great experience to get a lot of diverse experiences in. We also offer 25% of our curriculum outside of the Stern School of Business and in other NYU graduate schools. So if you're thinking about courses at the law school, if you're thinking about courses in other areas that may interest you, our Tisch School of the Arts, for example, is a very popular school to take these courses in. The 2-year program is really built to allow you that flexibility along with the specializations, taking your core curriculum out of there, and also our study abroad programs, which can range anywhere from a 1-week program to a multi-week program that may span across a semester. So lots of options there. Many of our students find that they just wish they had more time to take advantage of all of the things they could, whether it's in the 2-year program or the other MBAs I'm about to talk about. So there's a lot going on at all times at Stern. The next 2 programs are what we call our focused MBAs, and they each last 1 calendar year. So they run from May to May. These programs are the Tech MBA and the Fashion and Luxury MBA. Think about these programs as very similar to the full-time MBA, but delivered through the scope of industry. In other words, for example, in the Tech MBA, many of your core classes are going to be focused on the skills that you would need to build to be successful in the tech industry. The projects that will be offered through experiential learning will focus on the tech industry. And so you have the benefit of the experience of the full-time MBA, but it's much more tailored to students who want to ultimately be in that space. Although it's not a requirement, I certainly suggest that students that are interested in the focused MBA programs have some sort of industry exposure, because again, this is where you're going to be headed. This is the experiences that you're going to have at Stern with regards to this. What I love about these focus programs is they go very deep into experiential opportunities, both throughout the semester and in some particular components of immersions. For both of our programs in the January term, they're visiting for the Tech MBA, they visit the West Coast to go through a variety of tech companies. And for the Fashion and Luxury MBA, they have visited Milan, Italy in the past to understand really the grassroots process of retail industries and luxury industries, but also understand things like supply chain, retail marketing, et cetera. And so you're visiting manufacturing, you're visiting different companies, you're visiting showrooms. And again, with the Tech MBA, you're visiting those companies and trying to understand, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What are the challenges that they're experiencing in those worlds? Keep in mind that with both of our focused MBA programs, they do not include an internship. So if you're someone who's maybe thinking about switching careers and wants to have the opportunity to pursue an internship to give it a go, to give it a try, that's something where the 2-year MBA may be more focused, may be more appropriate for you depending on what your needs are. But again, 3 different programs, 3 different experiences, all fantastic and all really leverage the Stern faculty, the Stern community, and the Stern connections with the broader NYC community, excuse me. Let's talk about a bit about the faculty, right? This is one of my favorite parts of being at Stern. I have been able to work with many of the faculty here that you see on the slide, and know that their heart is really in caring for their students and caring for our community. I can name a few other faculty members that really do put their best foot forward when it comes to working with our students, working on their research, and really building that Stern experience out. But a couple of quick facts about our faculty. So we have over 300 faculty members that are across a variety of industries. One of the great things I think about being in New York, that is often, not something that our students think about all the time as they're researching business schools, but many of our faculty members are working in their careers during the day and come to Stern to teach courses around their area of expertise. We also have a variety of different teaching styles. There are faculty members who will use the case study method. There are other faculty members that will focus on group projects, lectures, etc. So you'll find that each faculty member has their own flavor in terms of how they are rolling out the material. Let's talk a little bit about careers. So for many of you, you're pursuing your MBA degree because this is what you want to change. This is what you want to impact. And so this is an incredibly important part of pursuing your business school degree. And there's a couple of reasons why I think Stern really gets it right. Number one, we have that connection to New York City, which just being here is fantastic, but the work that our Office of Career Development does to continue to build relationships across new and emerging industries, across partners that have been with us for decades, is truly incredible. And I tip my hat to that team because they are always thinking about the next area for Stern students and how to best advise them to pursue careers in that field. When you're at Stern, one of the ways that the Office of Career Development will support you is through a program called Ignite. And this is really our career education, which starts off with resume review and includes things like advising appointments, opportunities to sit with career mentors who are MBA 2s, opportunities to be connected with alumni in residence around a variety of different industries. So they're really your partners in this process to make sure that you have what you need to be successful in this area. They want to make sure that you're also being true to yourself in terms of the areas that you want to go into. And so you'll find there's quite a few conversations that will happen between our advising team and our students to really make sure that your short-term goals and the companies that you have on that list align to who you are, the values that you hold, and where you hope that this degree will take you. I mentioned earlier our alums that do help out. We have an incredible group of alumni. All in total, NYU Stern has about 100,000, a little over 100,000 alumni in over 20 countries, and so it's quite a vast network. You'll find that, as I mentioned, all the companies that are here, you'll find that we have a wealth of alumni within these companies, and they're there for you to call on. So it's something that I think is incredibly powerful for you as you think about your Stern experience. One of my favorite topics is community, and I think we focus quite a bit on IQ plus EQ, right? So you would imagine that that community is also going to be strong. Oftentimes, I hear from prospective students, I'm a little worried that the community in at NYU is going to be, a little bit different because you're in such an urban environment. So how do you build community in the city? And my response to that is always that the fact that the city is here is an incredible add to your community. I'm getting the note that we have a couple of minutes left, so I just want to briefly go over our admissions process. So as I mentioned before, the IQ plus EQ really underpins our admissions philosophy. And it's a holistic review, meaning that for each of these three components you have listed here, we're taking a look at those and taking a look to see how your application shows these components. The academic is pretty standard. You'll see an undergraduate academic record and standardized tests included. So we're trying to answer the question, can you handle the curriculum at Stern? There are a few quantitative courses, so we're looking to see if that's something you have in your application. Again, if you don't have it in your undergrad, that's why the test exists, so we can use that as another data point to assess. In the professional landscape, we're looking to see what skills are you bringing into the Stern environment, and does your short-term MBA goal leverage those skill sets to get you to where you'd like to go? Also, your EQ endorsements are in there as we hope that they also speak to your professional skill set. And then finally, the personal. Tell us why you want to spend your 2 years here. Help us understand the components of the community that are really interesting to you and that you gravitate towards. This is going to be your community for life. And so we want to make sure that it's the right fit for you and that it brings you the joy that we hope that it brings, that it would bring you and our admissions, our alumni as well. So with that, I'll pause. I know we have some questions, which I'm happy to take. And let's get it going.
Thank you so much for that, Yoselin. Uh, that was a great presentation, very informative. I was taking notes as well while you were talking. And before we move on to the questions from the viewers, we have certain questions that were submitted to us on the GMAT Club forum by Stern aspirants. So we'll start with those questions first. All right. Can you share some good characteristics of a good essay? Particularly around the pick six and the change essay that Stern has.
Yes, absolutely. I think sometimes candidates have the tendency to be very general and say, I'm someone who really likes change. I'm someone who really enjoys family. Get detailed. Give me some pieces of story that are very particular to you. It's like when you have a friend that says, I'm really funny. They can say that, or they can tell you a hilarious joke, and then you're like, hey, that person is really funny, right? So the showing of the details, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Um, you're not coming to business school because you have it all figured out. You're coming to business school because you're hoping to learn from experts, from your friends, from your classmates. So it's okay to be vulnerable and share that in your pick six and in your essays.
The next question is the program suited for people working in non-profit, social impact, or the government space and intend to continue working there? And what is the recruitment scenario for such candidates?
Absolutely. This has been a growing field of interest as I think many consumers, for example, want to make sure that the companies they work for really understand the social impact they're having. This is absolutely an area that we've had students go into and work, whether it's companies that were very large or startup companies that were thinking about really green-minded, sustainable eco products. Students definitely have that in their short-term goals post MBA. I think with the recruiting process, it depends on which area you want to go into, but there are lots of connections between our faculty members as well as the clubs on campus to help you find that. I think one thing that um, may shift the situation in terms of the recruiting process is if you're planning to go with a larger company in a sustainability area, or if you're thinking about going to a smaller company, a nonprofit, government, for example, the recruiting cycles just may be a little bit different than timing wise than you may find for some of the larger corporations. Our Office of Career Development will walk you through that and really help you set your calendar and what to expect.
And moving on to the last question from our subscribers, how open is the entertainment and media industry in hiring an international student post MBA?
Mm-hmm. This is an excellent question. I think it's helpful to be aware of industries that may not offer sponsorship, which is what I'm assuming this question is asking in terms of securing the visa. Again, our Office of Career Development stays very close to those companies that have offered our students opportunities. They also work very closely with our companies that offer international placements. And so, if it's not possible to secure a visa for X company in the US, is there a possibility to go to an office that they may have in the Middle East, that they may have in Latin America, for example? So if you're an international student who maybe is going to a more niche field or a field that hasn't historically recruited international students, it may be helpful to look for opportunities outside of the US in terms of that process.
In case your questions have already not been answered by Yoselin, we have a Zoom session right after this video stream. The link for that will be posted in the chat window. So please go ahead, log into the Zoom session and ask Yoselin as many questions as you wish to. We also have posted the link for the prize drawing in the chat window. So if you wish to win exciting prizes from the GMAT Lab, please go ahead and post an entry in the prize drawing link. And thanks again, Yoselin, for joining us today and giving us insights into the NYU Stern MBA programs, all the three MBA programs actually that Stern has to offer. And alternatively, if our viewers would like to watch another business school's presentation, you can stay tuned into the YouTube channel. We are having more presentations coming in soon. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.